Most people set goals every single year, and by the end of February, they are completely off track. And if you want this year to be different, you need to have the right habits and systems in place that support you in the process of achieving your goals. Like James Clear said, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So in this video, I'll go over the 5 habits that helped me the most. And the first one is setting 90-day goals. So the way that I'm pursuing my goals is in quarterly chunks. In the early days, I listened to a lot of motivational speakers, and they were saying things like, you need to have a 1-year plan, or you need to have a 5-year plan to become successful. So this is what I started to create. But I realized that this was not working for me. It was way too big and it became too overwhelming. And eventually I just forget about these goals. And this is what you have to keep in mind when you listen to advice online. Because what might be working for someone else might not be working for you. So at the end of the day, you always have to ask yourself the question, is this actually working for me? And when it comes to these 5-year plans, the answer for me was a clear no. So I do believe it's important to have a 1-year plan or a 5-year plan to give yourself some direction. But the real productivity and progress is created in these smaller chunks. And there are a lot of books written about this concept of creating these quarterly goals. And the book that I recommend the most is The 12-Week Year, because it will go deeper into all the nuances in this whole process. And the way that I approach my 90-day goals is by creating only 3 most important goals. Because the moment I create more than 3 goals is the moment, again, I become overwhelmed. And I usually end up in a place where I'm frustrated with my lack of progress. I only have a limited time, energy, and focus that I can put into my goals. And if it's put into too many different goals, I can't make the progress that I want to be making. So that's why I force myself to prioritize, to only setting 3 goals. And if the goal that you want to achieve is too big to achieve in 90 days, you can always take a chunk out of this goal and use this as your 90-day goal. So the biggest mistake that I see that people make when it comes to these goals is they don't make them specific enough. So you are working in these smaller chunks to make things more manageable and clear, but when you set a vague goal, it's still unclear what you need to be doing. There's a difference between setting a goal like, at the end of the 90 days, I want to be fit and healthy, compared to, at the end of the 90 days, I want to reach a body fat percentage of 12. Or, at the end of the 90 days, I want to earn more money, compared to, at the end of the 90 days, I want to have closed 4 new clients at a price point of 5K each. And then it becomes automatically clear what the goal is and what you need to do to achieve this goal. And that's the power of specificity. So set only 3 goals in your 90-day chunks, the 3 most important goals, and make them as specific as possible. The second habit is the habit of block time. And what you'll see with all of these habits is that they are working together. They all together build a powerful system that you can use for any goal. And when I'm talking about block time, I mean blocking time on your calendar to work on your most important projects and actions to move the needle forward in your goals. This is related to the quote of, "Show me your calendar and I'll show you your future." If you show me your calendar right now, it has to become immediately clear to me what you are working on and what you are creating and what your goals are. And if this is not clear to me, then you're leaving a lot of potential still on the table. If you, for example, have a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment, do you schedule these on your calendar? Because most people schedule these on their calendar because otherwise they will forget about them. And why are you not treating your goals and your dreams in the same way? The beautiful thing about these time blocks is that it forces you to get specific what the actual needle movers are. What are actually the most important actions and projects that I need to focus on to realize this 90-day goal that I have? And at the same time, it also forces you to strategize, to be very strategic in the sequence of activities and actions that you want to be taking. What it, for example, can look like, let's say that you have a 90-day goal of losing weight. And one of the needle movers is working out. So when have you scheduled these workouts on your calendar? Because otherwise, if you, for example, would approach this activity only when you feel like it, so you only do the workouts when you feel like it, then you're not going to be very successful. And that's the powerful thing about scheduling these things on your calendar, because you're not going to be relying on feelings. You're only going to work out when you feel like it. You're going to rely on the system that you've created. And this is how you can stay disciplined. I, for example, had a client that wanted a consistent workout routine. So we created this whole routine, we scheduled the blocks in his calendar, and the next time we spoke, I asked him how things went. And he missed out on half of his workouts. So I was curious what happened. And he was saying things like, there was one day that he had to respond to certain emails from work and it took longer than expected. And there was another day that his wife called him and again, it took longer than expected, so he didn't have time anymore for his workout. So he was letting other people decide what he was doing and what he was not doing. And this is the danger if you don't create block times and when you hold it with a lot of importance. Because if you don't choose what you're spending your time on, other people will. So this is where it puts you back into the driver's seat. It puts you back in control of what you want to be creating in life. This is you also showing to yourself that these goals and these dreams are important to me. This is how I want to be spending my time. A big mistake that people have about block time is that they think it limits their freedom. It feels almost like a prison and constricting. But if you don't choose intentionally how you are spending your time, that means you start reacting to things, reacting to emails, reacting to phone calls, reacting to messages, reacting to social media, reacting to feelings. And how free are you really if you are living life in this reactive place? I don't think this is freedom. A very important part of freedom, from my perspective, is your ability to choose. And that's what you're doing with these block times. You're choosing how you want to be spending your time. So this is you practicing your freedom. If you manage these time blocks well, then progress is inevitable. So whenever you have a block of time, you want to hold it with that much importance. When you have a doctor's appointment, you're not going to say, well, let me respond to this email first before you go into the doctor's appointment. You block this time and you're going to spend this time on this thing no matter what. And this is where I don't even use to-do lists, because my calendar is my to-do list. Whenever I need to do something, I either do it right away or I schedule when I'm going to do it. And the third habit that I want to share with you is the one of morning priorities. When we're talking about a morning routine, we have many different camps. We have one camp of a 3-hour morning routine with ice baths. And on the other side, we have the Alex Hormozi side, let's call it like that, where you want to get to work as fast as possible, so almost having no routine at all. And I do believe we have gone a little too far when it comes to our morning routines, but I do believe a morning routine is crucial to have, because this sets you up for the day. And one of the most important elements, especially when it comes to achieving your goals, is setting priorities and connecting to your priorities every single morning. What happens when people start pursuing their goals, like I said with the 1-year plan or the 5-year plan, people forget about it. People forget about their goals, people forget about their priorities, and they're just leaving their day up to randomness. But when you leave your day up to randomness, you're taking away from your greatness, because you start to live from a place of reactivity instead of intentionally creating and living into your day. This is the difference between being connected to your priorities and just floating and flowing through life. Because I realize that whenever my priorities are not clear, I start to just react to all kinds of things. That's the moment when you start to react to emails, react to messages. You start to work on tasks that you think are important, but that actually don't even matter in the grand scheme of you achieving your goals. So that's when you become extremely busy and you feel productive, but you're not getting anything done. You're not making any progress. So that's the thing that starts happening when you don't have block time and when you're not connected to your priorities. So with your morning priorities, the rule of 3 applies again here as well. So with the 90-day goals, you have the rule of 3 with what are my 3 most important goals. And every single morning, you want to get clear on what are the main 3 things that I want to achieve today and that I want to create today. And of course, you can get way more done than this, but what are the main 3 things that you want to get done no matter what? And this is when you are practicing one of the most important things when it comes to goal setting, and it's keeping your goals and keeping your priorities front of mind. You don't need any new fancy personal development strategy to become successful. Usually what people need is reminders. We need to remind ourselves of the basics, of the things that are important to us, because life tries to do everything in its power to distract you, to pull you away from what's important to you. And it's your job to remind yourself and ground yourself in these values are important to me. These goals are important to me. These are the activities that I want to be working on. Because when you keep it front of mind, you start immersing yourself with the activities and the goal. And action becomes more automatic. And this is also where the 4th habit comes into play, which is such a powerful habit. And it's the habit of tracking. Tracking your metrics. This habit is really a hack because it's so powerful. I realized that the more I was tracking my metrics, the more progress I was making. They did a study where they had 2 groups of people where one group had to weigh themselves every day and the other group was not allowed to weigh themselves. And this was the only instruction that they got. And the group that was weighing themselves every single day, they lost weight. And the other group gained weight. And this is already showing the power of tracking the most important metrics, because you, like with setting the morning priorities, you keep the goal, the most important metric, front of mind. And when you see a number going up and down, it's almost automatically like you want to improve that score. You want to improve that number. So you're gamifying the whole process as well. And I want to share 2 ways in which you can track the most important metrics, because there are some guys in the community that I'm running that are using this method of tracking habits. So every time they do the habit on a day, they get a green day. And every time they don't do the habit, they get a red day. And their goal is to create a streak of green days. Because when you, for example, have 5 days in a row where you do the habit, you don't want to lose the streak. And this is how you gamify this habit until it becomes second nature to you. And a second way, of course, of tracking metrics is tracking the most important metrics. How many outreaches did you do every single day or every single week? Are you tracking your calories? Are you tracking the amount of posts that you made online? Your subscriber count? The amount of views that you got? The engagement that you got? Are you tracking, maybe when you have a social goal, how many new people and strangers did you talk to every single week? Are you tracking metrics within your workouts? If you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, are you tracking the number of pages that you've written? Are you tracking the amount of money that you created every single day or every single week? So these are all metrics that you want to keep track of. And if you combine this with all the other habits, then action becomes almost automatic, because the system that you've created for yourself is so powerful. This tracking is also related to a high performance habit called raising necessity. So high performers know how to raise external and internal necessity that increases the likelihood of them taking action. Because when you feel an internal necessity, then the likelihood of taking action becomes higher. And by tracking metrics, you feel more inclined to take action consistently on the thing that you're doing. Because it's almost like you're being confronted with reality. Instead of creating in your mind that everything is good, everything is okay. But when you really look at, let's see how much you're weighing, you see like, maybe some things are off here and I need to improve this number. So tracking metrics is also a beautiful way to connect with reality, to raise necessity from within to take action. And also, if you can measure it, you can improve it. So this habit is so powerful in the process of achieving your goals. And the last one that I want to share with you is the one of weekly reflections. And this one, again, like the morning routine, can take up an insane amount of time, But if we simply look at what is serving you in the process of achieving your goals, then this weekly reflection only has to take 10 or 20 minutes. And one of the worst things that you can do is work on your goals and working on the wrong thing and not even knowing that you're working on the wrong thing in the first place. And the beautiful thing about weekly reflections is that you can see what is working, what is not working. You can make adjustments if necessary. And this is again also a beautiful reminder to yourself to keep the goals front of mind, to keep your priorities front of mind. So the thing that I do with my weekly reflections is I look at my metrics and I look at what has been working and what has not been working in this process. I also connect with and look at my 3 most important goals, my 90-day goals that I'm pursuing. And I'm looking at, am I doing the things that are moving the needle forward? Am I still on track with my most important actions and my most important projects? And this is also where you gather the information if you need to make adjustments or not. And the last thing that I also do, instead of reflecting, I also prepare for my next week. So this is the time where I also create the time blocks for the upcoming week. What do I want to spend my time on? What are the goals that I'm pursuing next week? The most important projects, the most important habits, the most important metrics that I want to hit. Maybe I realized that I was taking way too much time at a certain task and I need to see how can I do this faster. Maybe I thought a task took only 1 hour and I realized that it took me 10 hours to realize. And like this, I can make adjustments in my time blocks as well, because it will never be perfect. These habits that you're consistently practicing will never be perfect, but it's not the goal to be perfect. It's the goal to consistently align yourself with the goals. And that's where all of these habits, they create a powerful system for you to achieve the goals that are important to you. So you set your 90-day goals. You have your block time, you have your morning priorities, you track the most important metrics, and you have your weekly reflections. And like this, you can stay connected to the things that actually matter.